Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome everyone to our webinar today at Finance Magnates. My name is Rachel McIntosh. I'm a cryptocurrency journalist and podcast host, and I'm going to be chatting today with an amazing thought leader from the world of payments, Igor Costa, the enterprise sales manager at PayRetailers. And I'm going to let him introduce himself in a little bit more thoroughly in just a moment. But before then, I'm going to give us all a little bit of context and also explain a few housekeeping matters. So the payments landscape in Latin America is much more complex than most people know. And unlike the United States or the European Union, Latin America is not a regulatory monolith. In fact, each country is very unique. Due to the rise of e-commerce, the use of digital payment options and online purchases has become more popular in Latin America. PayRetailers' team of local experts has built a reservoir of knowledge to help companies who are interested in entering Latin America for the first time. And Igor is here today to discuss how companies can navigate and flourish in the Latin American market. Our discussion today is going to last for about 45 minutes, and after that point, the floor will be open up for questions. We'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you have a question for Igor at any point during this webinar, please feel free to leave us a comment. And if we don't get to your question today, we will do our very best to follow up with you afterward. Just for your information, this webinar will be available on demand after today's live session. So if you miss anything, don't worry. We'll be sending around this recording when it's available. And there you can also find today's panel and other related content, including blog posts and information about other upcoming webinars. Last but not least, sharing is caring. We love to encourage you to share today's webinar throughout your social networks. And without any further ado, let's get this conversation rolling. Igor, welcome.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do, and what is PayRetailers exactly?
Yeah, definitely. So, well, as people see, my name is Igor, and I have about 7 years of fintech experience, mainly advising large enterprise merchants how to grow their business internationally. Currently working at PayRetailers as a sales manager, and yeah, my main goal is to help these international customers to expand into the Latin American market. A little bit about PayRetailers. So we are a payment service provider focusing on international merchants accepting payments in the Latin American markets. At this point, we have offices and operations in multiple countries in Latin America. And our strength really is that with just one integration and one payment service agreement, you can cover the whole of Latin America and accept more than 250 payment methods. And that could go from bank transfers, cash payments, cards and wallet transactions. So with this solution as an international merchant, you can cover about 90% of the potential market in LatAm.
Okay, very interesting. So let's get a little bit of context here. Why is the Latin American market so unique in terms of its payment landscape?
Yeah, Latin America is a really interesting market. There are a few main markets like Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Chile, and Argentina, and that covers about 80% of the economy. Well, what happens? I'm from Europe, for example. Many people compare Latin America with the US and Europe, and for us, it's really common to have a bank account, for example. I think everybody here has a bank account. Yeah, but many people in LatAm are not banked.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not offering a local alternative solution for consumers to buy something, these people will be left out of the e-commerce economy, and you as a merchant cannot reach those customers at this point. I think maybe another good example is, for example, an airline. I mean, you can buy tickets at the airline offices in LatAm, but if you live in the countryside and not in the capital where mostly the offices are, yeah, you need to travel 7 hours to buy an airline ticket. So having a good web shop providing those services is a must, especially with these local payment methods.
Right, it's easy to see how people can be cut off from the world of e-commerce,
Exactly.
without these payment offices. So, can you talk a little bit more about the role of cash in these markets? How does cash work?
Yeah, cash and online is really interesting because normally you wouldn't pay something in cash if you buy something online. At least that would be my experience. But what you can do in LatAm is that consumers, they can order something online through their mobile phone or computer. They select one of the cash payment options. And we will generate a code, a QR code, for example, and they can pay in one of the partners that accept one of these methods. And to cover the markets, we have partnerships with brands like Walmart, for example. Most people probably know this supermarket chain. Stores like 7-Eleven, pharmacies, in banks, and also local e-wallets in the countries.
Okay, so you can actually pay for an e-commerce transaction with cash using these solutions.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so what about cards? How commonly do people use cards in Latin America?
It works a little different than we might think, because many people in Latin America, they don't have access to a credit card or a debit card because of the banking system credit restrictions. And when they have one, many times it doesn't work internationally. There are high fees, and could be that the exchange rate also is pretty expensive. So people, if they have it, mostly don't use it.
Right. So basically I've heard, and my understanding is that the Latin American market is quite fragmented. So can you talk a little bit about that? Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. It's actually a very fragmented market. I mean, every country has its own currency, own payment methods, local payment habits, which is, I think, really important to know. But also a regulatory and taxation system for every country is different, and people's behavior. I think that's the most important thing. That can differ from region to region, even within a specific country. So the north side of a country can have a different can have different habits than the south side of a country, and that's something you should really take into account if you want to expand to this market.
Right. So it's not just a question of infrastructure and regulation, but also of culture.
Exactly. It's that depends really on the culture.
Right. So can you give us a quick overview of sort of the general market demographics in Latin America?
Yeah, definitely. So I will share my screen now a little bit. So we talked about the main markets. Let's say Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Chile, and Argentina. They make up a big percentage of the market. And Brazil, of course, when you look at the map, is the biggest market in size and also in terms of population. Looking at Brazil, for example, even though it's the biggest market, only less than 30% of the people hold a credit card. But these 5 countries together, they cover most of the Latin American economy. Many countries speak the same language, but there are not many companies doing cross-border payments at this point within the different regions. And if you find a company doing cross-border payments, they need to have the right scalability, and they need to be reliable for you to invest in marketing and positioning, for example.
I see. So why is that exactly?
One example, it can be very complex to send funds outside of the countries. Frequently, USD is used in this case. Looking at the Brazilian market, for example, they have a very particular regulatory framework. Setting up a local business can take up a lot of time, and you need to have good advisors to do that. And it's also a big hassle if you don't have the experience in the market. I mean, it can be very difficult to send funds outside of the countries. And after setting up a business, you need to have the right local connections. You need to be able to accept multiple payment options. You need to kind of settle in a way which will cope with your cash flow needs. And that can be a huge challenge if you're not familiar with the local laws, connections, and with the regulatory framework.
Right. There's a lot of different factors at play. So tell me a little bit more about the challenges that these different groups face. We have retail users, small and medium enterprises, and larger corporate and financial entities in Latin America. What do all of these groups face in terms of challenges in the Latin American market?
Yeah. When I'm talking with international e-commerce companies, many of them compare Latin America with Europe or the United States. I mean, they see the world in terms of regions or markets. And let's have a look at Europe. Selling in many countries might seem very easy, or is very easy, because there's one currency or then a lot of currencies. Most of the consumers, they will pay with debit or credit card because it's widely accepted here. Settlement has been done in 24 hours. Commissions are known, and they're also very low many times. There's no conversion because if you accept euros and you pay your suppliers in euros, no currency conversion, and also the taxes are known. And if there's a special situation like Brexit, the restrictions are quickly absorbed by the e-commerce system.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at LatAm, each country all these points are different from country to country. You have 10 different currencies: real in Brazil, peso in Argentina, sol in Peru, Mexican pesos.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own taxation system for cross-border payments, and currency fluctuations are very common in the different markets. A relative stable currency in LatAm can devaluate 5% monthly. And I think for
Mm-hmm.
European standards, that's crazy. And that can create a challenge for merchants trying to enter into the Latin American markets. If you add that there are also some restrictions to take funds out of the country, for example. But I mean, on the bright side, mostly there are two languages spoken. It's Spanish and Portuguese. So imagine if you're a European merchant already selling in Spain and Portugal, then your content is already for 95% localized. So I mean, it's then if you integrate the payment methods, a flip of a switch to move to LATAM.
Right. Once those infrastructural, regulatory, sort of cultural understandings are in place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's just so interesting that, to think, both of us living in the EU, that Latin American currencies can devalue as much as 5% monthly. That is just, I mean, it's of course a challenge for the people who live there, but definitely a challenge for merchants and companies who are looking to enter that market.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something you really need to take into account if you want to expand to LATAM,
Hmm.
to know these things, that this can happen.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk now about pay retailers. What are your solutions to these challenges?
Yeah, so we offer one, let's say, one solution, which sounds very simple maybe, but that's one of the strengths, because we have a direct integration with the payment methods and with merchants via our local operations. So there's one API, and that gives you access to all these payment methods, to all these countries and all the markets that we have in our portfolio. And also with that, it's very important to have local presence. So yeah, we have our offices in LATAM to build a strong payment network without depending on third-party providers, making sure that
Mm.
everything works smoothly. And I think even the best solution, and this is something that always comes up when I'm talking to merchants, is that we are a Latin American payment service provider. So we are from Latin America. We have 6 offices along in all the main markets, and in almost every conversation that I have with merchants, I always invite, depending on the countries that they want to expand to, the local country managers, because they can join the call, explain about the payment landscape in their specific region, and also advise the merchants in the best way possible. We're based in all the key markets, so the country manager's job is to keep up to date on all the payment trends, making sure that we are an international cross-border payment company up to date of the latest trends, and also that our clients get the latest updates, because that's really important. So I think the key in this case to know is that you need to have the right payments partner to accommodate your needs.
Right, and really the best, or perhaps the only way to understand this market with the regulatory and the cultural and the infrastructural challenges is to have somebody who's actually physically present in the market, which is what you guys have.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why we have our local offices, and that range from the country managers, the compliance, legal, all trying to give this advice to our merchants.
Right, right. So it's my understanding that Latin America is growing incredibly fast. So there's a lot of potential in this market. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, because when you look at the news, especially now, I think every message says that every market is the fastest growing market at
That's
this point,
true.
right?
That's true. Yeah, Africa, Asia, they're all the fastest growing market for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, for as long as I can remember, everybody's been saying that Latin America is the fastest growing market. But
Hmm.
the most important thing to note here, it's a huge market, and for a big part, it still needs to be explored. So
Hmm.
it has a lot of potential for international merchants, which haven't tried to penetrate the markets, and I think that's for sure.
So why does this market have so much potential?
One example and that relates a little bit to the current situation with COVID, is that the banking population is increasing. Many people at this point are receiving government aid, but to receive that, they need to open a bank account. So this is increasing the bank population, and this accelerates e-commerce in Latin America.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just need to make sure that you that you choose the right payment partner with the knowledge of the reason, and that is the reason why we offer all the countries in one solution, which is one agreement. And reliability is everything in the markets. And what we do is we try to be transparent with the merchants, because otherwise it's impossible for a business to expand there. And I mean, everybody knows that marketing costs a lot of money, and then if you spend a lot of money on marketing, that would be useless.
Right. And I like that you said that reliability is everything in this business. And I think particularly in this market where there seems to be a little bit of distrust of financial services that aren't cash, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. That's true.
So, are you focusing on any particular segment of the Latin American market?
At this point, we are the leading PSP for the financial services community, but we don't have a specific preference of the type of clients that we focus on. I mean, we have a variety of merchants from different industries, and we are constantly developing new solutions and plugins, for example, for different market participants. Because we're a payment company, we try to kind of attend everyone who looks to expand business in Latin America.
Okay. So how is this technology, the technology that PayRetailers, is bringing, as well as general financial technology, how is that affecting the payment sector in Latin America?
One important thing that we'll always try to look for in the company is simplicity. We want to offer simple payment methods for the end user, to have quick access and confirmation on any online service or product that they buy. And that's where the technology part comes in. And that's why we have in-source and outsource developers constantly improving our APIs, the way we deliver the payment methods to our customers. And there's maybe one interesting way to pay, to highlight a little bit, and that's payment by QR codes. It is not very common, I think, in most of the markets. I mean, if you look at my screen now, you can see a difference between Europe and Latin America from 2020 and the expectation to 2025, payment by QR code. And you can see Europe kind of stays steady in this case, but from 2020 to 2025, this is going to increase exponentially. And how this works, and I'm going to show it to you as in an example, is that you as a consumer, you go to the website of the merchant, you select your products or services, you select the payment method, in this case then the QR code payment method, and you get this kind of slip in your email or on your screen, and you see the QR code on the right top corner. So what you can do in this case is, as a consumer, is you can scan this with your mobile phone, with your banking app, for example, confirm your payment in your banking app. Payment is confirmed. And you can also use this to pay with cash in certain local stores. They scan the code, you pay in cash, and it's paid. And I think that is let's say, the easiness of the payment, of the technology that is helping to increase the conversion, but also make it easy for the consumers, because the more steps there in between, the faster they will drop off.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about all of this from another angle, which is financial inclusion, and tools like this, being able to pay with cash and get a QR code in order to pay for your e-commerce transaction. Obviously, that's great for merchants. It's great for the economy, but it's also great for people who did not have access to these kinds of services before. So talk a little bit more specifically about how PayRetailers is helping to connect people in Latin America with products and services all over the world.
One of the key elements is market coverage. I mean, I was in Sao Paulo, for example, and it's a really big city. If you compare it with my country, it's almost as big as the Netherlands. And people that live there, they have access to a lot of things. But if you live in the countryside of Peru, for example, and you want to buy something online, you also need to have access to those local payment methods. So that in this case, what I said, the key element is coverage. So if you have these local payment methods, even in the most remote areas, consumers will have access to products, to services that are normally only accessible for people living in the big cities. And if we go back a few years, 5 years, for example, I think this scenario was unthinkable. If you live in the countryside, I mean, you have internet, you have everything, but if you don't have access to the payment method that you prefer and how you can pay, yeah, then you would be excluded.
Right. And I have just one more question before we go to questions from the audience, and I'll remind our audience members to send in their questions. This is actually quite a serious matter for the industry. Very important question. I need to ask you about football. So let's talk about the football in Latin America. Tell me how PayRetailers is involved there.
Yeah, so football is a love game everywhere, but I think in Latin America it is really big, and football formed a large base of the local culture. Looking at Brazil, I mean, the kids, they will skip everything and they will just want to play football every day. It's a passion amongst young and old, but men and women, it doesn't matter, and it brings people together. And that's also one of the reasons that we partner with Comebol Sudamericana, which we are a partner for 2021 and 2022. And this is a very big part of inclusion and coverage. I mean, you think of football, you think of LatAm, it all comes together. And that's why we partner with the Comebol to make sure that people can come together.
Right. And I love that this is just a perfect demonstration of how you guys really understand the local cultural scene as well as the regulatory and infrastructural thing. You know, this is a perfect way to reach new groups of people.
Yeah, I mean, you bring people together with football. We give people access to services that they didn't have access before. And if you look at the big picture, I think this is why we're in the business. I mean, this is bringing people together.
Absolutely. So we have a few questions from the audience, and audience, please feel free to send in any additional questions that you might have. Our first question: which country is the most attractive market for my expansion into Latin America?
Yeah, that's a question that I actually always get from every merchant that I talk to. And it's an easy question. It's a really difficult answer. For example, it depends. What are you selling? Is it a service? Is it products that you need to send? Because you have to take into account, of course, that if it's products, you actually need to send them to the people. Do you have local distribution in the country? Are you going to send it from Europe? Are you going to send it from the US? So these things we all need to take into account in terms of which country is the most attractive. Looking at market size, Brazil, of course, would be an easy country with over 150 million population. Mexico is a really big market. Colombia is a big market. But looking at a specific advice in this case, I always have a chat first with the merchants to see what are you doing, what do you want, what are your goals? Because I mean, we just talked about inclusion, for example. If that's one of your goals, we need to have a look, which country do you want to start with? What is easy to expand to? Do you already have localized content? So we always have a look with the merchant, with the country managers together in terms to see what would be our advice. But of course, the merchant itself need to decide what will be the best for themselves, because in the end, you know your business the best.
Right, absolutely. Next question. Why do you think this is the right moment to enter into the Latin American market?
Yeah, the right moment was maybe yesterday, for example. No, but looking at what happened in the world last year with COVID and bank population increased in LatAm, many European and American, actually many international businesses can expand to LatAm at this point because people are more open to use e-commerce. Normally you would go, I mean, where I live, we were in lockdown. We couldn't go to any store. We had to buy our things online in the end. And I already did it before, but imagine you live in a city, you go in lockdown, and you need to buy something for the first time online. maybe that can be a little scary, or you don't want to give your card details or anything. And people are getting used to it now, and it's becoming more and more common to buy things online. And this can be the right moment to be there as an international merchant.
Right, to take advantage of that trend.
Exactly. And if you, yeah, if you, I mean, if you sell, for example, services, helping people helping people to create a CV, help to create, or a resume, helping to update their LinkedIn profile, all these kind of things. I mean, it's really easy to expand now because people are looking for jobs. People want to, people want to improve. They want to grow in their job. This could be the right moment. And sorry.
Yeah. So for example, if I am a service provider that offers a service where I would help you improve your CV, and I'm international, that's something that people can now access for the first time with PayRetailers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually, it's not even about just, regular goods and services. Like these are really sort of life-changing, potentially, things that people can have access to that they didn't previously have access to.
Yeah. And again, I think we've said it a few times. What may be easy, accessible for us is not accessible for other people. So
Right.
in the conversations with merchants, we always have a look, and then we talk with the country manager. Would this work in the country?
Mm-hmm.
Would you buy it, for example? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the questions that I always ask is,
Okay, interesting.
would you buy this? And they will say yes or no. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, and
or
it's like the people in the local offices, you can say, would you buy this? Would your family buy this? Would your friends buy this? Because they have a understanding of the local market.
exactly, yeah,
Right. Okay.
that's the idea.
Very interesting. Okay. So next question, can you give your feedback on the Caribbean region as part of Latin America in terms of penetration, challenges, and if PayRetailer solution includes this region?
Yeah. So what? Looking at the countries that we at this point offer, we're always expanding to new countries, and we're talking about the 5 big markets that we currently offer. Sorry, part of our suite are the 5 big markets, of course, but we offer in much more countries. Um, the Caribbean is an interesting region. I mean,
Mhm.
we have to work with local partners. We need to connect to the local banks, etc., making sure that that we have the right offering. So what we're
Mhm.
currently exploring is, what do we need to offer? Where do we need to offer it? But we always work together with our merchants. When we're talking to the merchants and they say, I want to sell in a specific, let's say, specific islands,
Mhm.
we look like, what can we offer there? Maybe it's something that we can offer that we already have. Well, that's great. And if not, maybe we can work together to offer it there. So
Okay.
I mean, the best advice in this case that I can give is, if you have a specific need in a specific region, drop me an email, we'll schedule a meeting, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, great. Next question. Is it possible to integrate foreign exchange into your payment solution?
I can be very sure on that. Yes. I mean, no. So how it works, how we onboard our merchants, is that when you sign up with us, well, we'll have a chat about where you want to sell, what do you want to do. We can have a look in the. We can advise you on the best payment methods. That's what we see previously worked really well. And then you go through our compliance process. So of course, we need to have some documents of your business, making sure that we can onboard you in a proper way, and then it shouldn't be any issue.
Okay, fabulous. And we have one, actually, we have a few more questions from the audience. Great. So next question, are all the different types of solutions that you talked about, especially cash payments, available to all different kinds of merchants?
Yeah. I mean, we can the 250 payment, or over 250 payment methods that we offer, we can offer them to all the merchants that we have. The key is, maybe have a look what would be best applicable to your business. If you give an example, if you are an online music streaming service, I mean, I think cash, for example, would definitely work, but of course you need to take into account that people have to pay in cash every month or 3 months for your service, because they have to go to a store physically. So yes, it is possible, but I always would say, let's tailor it to your needs.
Right. So a follow-up question is, what MDR should a high-risk merchant expect?
Yeah, that's. I think that's like the second question that we always get in
Mm,
in the conversations. It depends on the volume. I mean, it depends
okay.
on the volume, depends on the country. There are many things. It's really difficult for me to say something now because I don't know which countries you want to sell. I don't know which payment methods, etc. But the best way how we can proceed in this is if you send us some more information, we'll schedule a meeting, and then we can give you we can send you a proposal.
Okay, great. Next question. Great presentation. Appreciate the insights about Latin America. Thank you. As far as I understand, PayRetailers acts as a payment service provider with expertise on local specific payment methods and preferences, enabling them to their clients, the merchants. How does PayRetailers react to local regulatory requirements? For example, 3D Secure mandate in Brazil on domestic issued cards or sensible payment data, PII, in Costa Rica is restricted to leave the country.
Yeah, so because of our local presence, we work together with the banks, with our partners, making sure that we're up to date with the current regulations. So if there is looking at 3D Secure, for example, I mean, if that is one of the regulations, we'll make sure with the tech team that that is going to be integrated. And our, let's say, our country managers, they track these things. They're in constant communication with the product teams, with the tech teams, and yeah, that's how we keep up to date.
Okay, great. Next question. Are you planning to expand coverage and services?
Yeah, definitely. That's. I mean, we have people 100% of their time focusing on that. On one hand, those are the country managers looking at expanding services within the countries. Is there a new type of payment method? Is there a new wallet? Is there another type of card, for example, that we need to integrate? And that's one of the tasks of the country managers. And then on the other side, we have a few people that are working in going into different markets.
Mhm.
One, when we're in talk with our clients, do you want to expand to country X or Y? If that is not possible at this point, we'll have a look with the team, see what do we need to do. Do we need to connect to different partners with banks? Can we do this with the current banks? And then we can expand to those countries. Yeah.
I see. Next question. Which of the countries is the best for financial services such as Forex, CFD trading, and stock trading?
I think just looking at the experience that we have now with our current merchants, uh, let's say Mexico, for example, is a
Mm,
very good one. But most of the, to be honest, most of the countries are really good countries to expand your business to. In this case,
mhm,
what we need to do in this case is to have a look at your specific business. And I mean, if you're localized in Spanish already, then it would
mhm.
be easy to go to different countries. But it all depends a little bit on the type of business, how you're registered. So yeah, I would say drop me an email and we'll have a look at it.
Okay, great. And the final question from the audience. As an online trading merchant, a big part of the challenge with Latin America is getting comfortable with cash-based, voucher and mobile payments, which are seemingly common. How do we as a business get comfortable with these types of solutions given the inherent AML and CTF risks?
Yeah. So what we do when you would become a client of us is that we take you through an onboarding. And in this onboarding, we'll actually show you like this is how it looks, this is how it works. We can give you live examples with my colleagues that are in Latin America, making you comfortable in terms of how do these payment methods work. And in terms of AML, we can share our experience. I mean, we're a young company, but we exist now for 4 years. But I mean, we can share our experience that we have with current merchants based on what works the best. And I think that is always the best way going forward in sharing the experience.
Absolutely. So, Igor, you've mentioned a couple times that people can get in touch with pay retailers directly. Can you share a little bit of information about how people can reach you?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to contact me in this case is I'll share my email address and my phone number here on the screen. So people can reach out to me via email or give me a call, send me a text message. What we normally do is, I mean, I'm not the only one working in the team, of course. So I have a few colleagues, and what we will do is we will set up a meeting with you. We'll just go through your business. What do you do? What do you sell? What are your plans? What kind of advice do you need? And from there on, I mean, we'll schedule a few meetings with you in the teams, and we'll take it from there. I mean, that is the easiest way, I think, to move forward.
Great. And if people want to connect with you in person, or will there be any events that you guys are attending?
Yeah, so we have a few things scheduled at this point. So we are at the IFX in Cyprus, 5th and 6th of October, where we can connect. And we're also in Sigma in Malta in November. And we're constantly kind of going to new events. This is the current planning for, let's say, in a short time. Of course, we have the holiday periods in the meantime. But yeah, if you would like to meet us there, let me know that you're going, and then we'll schedule something. And we'll make sure that that we have a chat.
Wonderful. And I have one final question for you, Igor, which is if there's one thing that you hope that people take away from this webinar today, what is that?
No one, I would say, PayRetailers offers the best access to the markets.
Mm,
We are from Latin America. We know the countries, we know the culture, and we know the people because we are from there. And that will definitely help merchants in growing their business.
absolutely. Igor, a genuine pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for sharing so much today.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Yes, and to our audience, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. I know I certainly did. Remember that this discussion will be available on demand after we end today's session, and please let people know that you are here. Share this on your social media, and don't hesitate to contact Finance Magnates or PayRetailers if you have any questions. I wish you all the best of luck, and take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.